Hello friends, welcome to another session of our virtual Excel for Web training program. Excel training course that allows you to work smart and be productive at the office. In today's session, we'll be looking at understanding Excel's date function, a very important group of functions that help us to better analyze and work with data related to dates. So if you're ready, join me and let's get started. We'll start off from the date in Excel sheet. So the first thing we're going to do is try and understand how Microsoft Excel interprets dates. Now, in order to be able to analyze dates and do calculations with dates, Excel assigns a value to every date. Now, not all dates have a value. Only dates starting from 1st January 1900 have a value. So, starting from 1st January 1900, every other date that follows has been assigned a value in Excel. In writing dates in Excel, you need to pay attention to how your computer recognizes dates. And for me, my computer recognizes dates as month, day, year. So if I want to write this in Excel, I have to write the month. So 01 is the month, that's January. 01 is the day, and then 1900 is the year. So this is the very first day in Excel. Now, if I convert this to its value form, that's changing it to general using the shortcut Control-Shift-Tilde, I have 1. Okay, if I put 2 over here and I convert this to a date using Excel's shortcut Control-Shift-3, I have 2nd January 1900 can be seen in the formula bar. So it shows you that every other day is a +1 since 1st January 1900. Okay, so what this means is over here, if I input today's dates, which is 11/16/2022, I can convert this to a general format to see how many days has passed since 1st January 1900. So Control-Shift-Tilde gives me 44,881 days since 1st January 1900. Okay, so what you need to understand is in order for Excel to work with dates, it assigns a value to each day, which is 1 more than the previous day, starting 1st January 1900. Okay, now let's see some of the shortcuts we can use to format dates in Excel. So I'm going to link this to these, so equal to this, Control-Enter. Okay, so now I have these values here. Now, what are the various shortcuts I can use to format from general to time or date? Okay, the first one is if you have a date value indicated as 43,345, it's not a problem. It's just that Excel is recognizing this date in its generic form, in its general format. So you need to convert it to a date using the shortcut Control-Shift-3. Control-Shift-3. Okay. Now, every single day is recognized as a full one. Okay, so the very first day in Excel, which is 1st January 1900, was 1. The next day, 2nd January 1900, was 2. So every other day that passes is an increase of 1. Now, if every whole day is 1, then time will be a component of that whole number. So time is a decimal of 1. So in this case, 0.78 is a part of a day, and that can be expressed in this time format as Control-Shift-2, which is 6:43 p.m. Okay. Now, in order to express date and time, you need to use the format dialog box. Okay, so to use a format dialog box to show both date and time, that's 2nd September 2018, 6:43 p.m., you do Control-1. Okay, go to dates, and under dates, you have time. Okay, so you have anyhow you want this to be expressed, which is here we have date and time. You can select that. Okay, and that gives you the date and the time. However, you can also go to custom, so Control-1 to custom, and you can create your own format indicating you want month, day, year, hour, minutes, and second. Okay, and you can bring your AM or PM, and okay. And this will also express this in a date and time format. So anyhow, you can create a date and time format using the format dialog box. Now to a very important concept in entering dates in Excel. So we find ourselves with what we call the Y2K problem. Now, because Excel starts dates from 1st January 1900 till date, there's a little problem with dates that have the same years ending with the last two digits. So this is what I mean. So if I want to enter, say, 11 November 21st, 21. Okay. Now, 11, 21st, 21 can mean two dates. They can mean 21st November 1921 or 21st November 2021. Okay, so now how is Excel going to understand dates that are written with the last two decades of every year? So in order for Excel to be able to understand this, Excel uses this partition in terms of dates. So every date that is written with these last two decades, that's falling between 30 to 99, are recognized as dates from 1930 to 1999. And dates that end with 00 to 29 are recognized as 2000 to 2029. What this means is if you are writing 21st November 1921, you need to specify 1921 in full, like this: 11, 21, 1921. If you indicate it as 11, 21, 21, this will recognize as 2021. And same goes for this point. If you're writing, let's say, 11, 21, 20, 30, okay, you need to express this in full because this goes beyond the boundary for this century. Okay, you need to express it this way. If you indicate 11, 21, 30, it is recognized as 1930. Okay, so this is how Excel is able to understand the truncation of the year. Okay, so it's very important to make sure you understand how Excel understands these dates and you write them appropriately. Okay, now how to use dates in calculation. Okay, now remember I mentioned earlier that every date starting 1st January 1900 has an assigned generic value. Now, as a result of this, it's possible to subtract dates and add days to dates. Okay, so let's see how this works. So for instance, you have a start date of 7 December 2006 and the end date is 15th April 2013. Now I want to calculate the number of days that's elapsed between these two dates. So because dates have a generic value, it's easy to subtract the two. So what I mean is if I equate this to this, Control Enter, and change this to the generic view, Control Shift tilde, I want to find the difference between these two values. It's simply going to be equal to this minus the lesser one. That's give me 2321. Same goes for days. I can do equal to the higher date, which is the much recent one, minus the older date. And I get 2321 days elapsing. Second example, now we have an installation date. An asset is installed on May 15th, 2018, and the lifespan is 1500 days. So we want to know when exactly this asset has to be replaced. So to calculate this is going to be equal to the installation date plus the number of days, giving us what? 23rd June 2022. Now this is possible again because these two values can be expressed in their generic format, that's Control Shift tilde, Okay, so it's simply going to be this plus that. Okay, and I change this to a date. So Control Shift 3, and I have 23rd June 2023. Great. Okay, now you have a date, 13th May 2018. You want to calculate 90 days before and 90 days after. What do? So 90 days before is simply going to be the date minus 90, okay, giving you 12 February 2018, and 90 days after is going to equal to the date plus 90, giving you 11th August 2018. Okay, so basically, as a result of dates having generic values, it's possible to do some simple aggregation with them. Okay, now let's try and understand some shortcuts in creating the current date and time in Excel. Okay, so in Excel, there are several ways to do this, but then the most simple ones are using the today function. So to create today's date, use today's function. So it has no arguments. So today open close gives you the date, right? Which is 16th November 2022. Okay, now this is a function. What this means is as the days change, this date is going to change. This function is linked to your computer's date. So if your computer's date is wrong, this is going to be as wrong. Okay, now you can actually stamp today's date such that it doesn't change. The shortcut is Control semicolon, and that gives you a text of today's date. This is an inputted value and it will not change, but this is a result of a function and will change as the day goes by. Okay, same with time. Okay, now with time, you can use a function now. So now, enter. Now provides you the date and the time. Okay, but you can convert this to just time using Control Shift 2, and this will give you just the time. Okay, now let's do the same with the shortcuts to stamp the time so that it doesn't change. So Control Shift semicolon. So now let's see the shortcut that can stamp the time so that it doesn't change and it's always an input. So you use the shortcut Control Shift semicolon, and this provides the time. Now you realize that the time has changed as I made an entry. And this is because, like I said, this is a function and it's going to keep changing as and when the time on your computer changes. So with this understanding, we know how Excel interprets data, and we can use this in our analysis and calculations. Okay, so let's switch on to the working with dates sheet. Okay, so we're going to try and use some of Excel's popular date functions to carry out and complete some tasks we normally face in the office. So let's first start by providing today's date with a shortcut Control semicolon. And now let's input the year, month, and day over here. So 2022, 11, 26. So we're going to learn how to extract the day, month, and year from a date, as well as how to create date from the various components. So it says create a date with the values in H6, I6, and J6. Okay, so the formula we're going to use is dates. So the date function is a very useful function. Well, on its own, it doesn't seem too useful, but you can use it with other functions in your computation. For example, when you don't want to hard code dates, you can use a date function to create dynamic dates in Excel. So all it needs is the year, month, and day. So this is our year, our month, and our day. Enter. And this gives us the date function. Now we're going to learn how to extract the various components of the date from today's date. So equal to first the day, we're going to use the day function. Today 26 C6, and that gives us 16. The month equal to month, select your date value, enter, that gives you the month, and the year, use the year function, select your cell reference, and then you have this. Okay, so these functions help us to extract the various components of a date. Okay, so moving on. Now it says here that calculate the dates after and before by months. Okay, and there are very two popular functions we use for this, the e-date and the eo-month. Now with the e-date, what it does is very simple. It tells you the exact date after a number of months or before a number of months. For instance, calculate the date 1 month after the day in C6. So I want to calculate the date 1 month after the day in C6. So equal to e-date. All I need to give is the start date, which is C6. Okay. And then the number of months after this date, which start date, which is 1. Okay. When I do this, enter, and I have 16 December 2022. Again, month, day, year, based on my computer's date style. Now, if yours is day, month, year, you need to always enter your date as such. Okay. Now the date 1 month before the date in C6. So this is 1 month before. So we're going back in time. So to go back in time, we're going to do e dates, C6, start date, and then the number of months. Because I'm going back in time, this is going to be -1, close bracket, and I have what, 16th October 2022. Okay, so edit is a very good function, especially when you need to calculate exactly when maybe an investment instrument ends or exactly when someone is done with their probation and due for leave, so on and so forth. Okay, now eo-month is a much more popular date function because eo-month is used by a lot of financial modelers in computing when the end of a month is after a number of months. So for example, so we want to calculate the last date of this month. So that one is a little tricky. Let's move on to the next one. I'll come back to that one. The last date of the month, 1 month after the date in C6. So we want to find the last date of next month. Okay, so equal to eo-month. Start date is this. Okay. Now we want to find 1 month after this month. So 1, like this. And realize that this provides me what? 31st December 2022. Okay, 31st December 2022. While e-date 1 month provides me 16 December 2022. So notice the difference. This is going to provide the last day of that month, whilst this will provide exactly 1 month from today. So the next one says, calculate the last date of the month 3 months before the date in C6. That's basically today. We want to find the last date of the month, which is 3 months from today. Okay, so equal to eo-month. Okay, our date value is in C6. Number of months is what? -3 because we're going back in time. Enter. And it says what? 31st August 2022. 31st August 2022. To make this easy, I'm going to format all these as date format, Ctrl+Shift+3. Okay, great. Now let's come back here. So we want to calculate the last date of the month. The last date of the month. Realize that this, we're not going a month before, we're not going a month behind. We're calculating the month, the last date of this particular month. So function is going to be eo-month. Today's value C6, and then our number of months is 0. Good. Enter, and it gives us 30th November 2022. Fantastic. Okay, so that's how to use some of Excel's date functions. Now let's move on to some advanced date functions in Excel. Now let's say you have your self in a situation where you need to calculate the leave of some staff. Okay, so this is a leave roster. These are the staff names. This is the start date. This is the number of days granted. And then you need to calculate the date to resume. Now, these are holidays you can take into consideration in your calculation. Okay, so how do you go about this? So to calculate the dates to resume, we're only interested in the number of working days that have been granted after the start date. So the function we can use, actually two functions we can use, is workday international and then workday. So I'm going to use both of them for you to understand. So first, workday. So with workday, we have a start days, you have number of days, and you have holidays. So the start date is 7th November 2017. Number of days is 15. And then your holidays, you need to select the entire array. Okay, now because we're going to copy down, I'm going to log this absolutely. Function F4, like this, enter, I copy this down. So these are the dates of resumption for these employees. So that's using the workday function. Did you realize that in this function, we didn't state which weekends these staff had? Okay, because for this function, it assumes that the weekend is going to be on Saturdays and Sundays throughout. But then with Workday International, you have an option to specify your type of weekend. So start dates, days granted, and then you have a host of options where you can select your weekend option. So in this case, we're using Saturday and Sunday, which is the default tab, and then holidays. I'm going to select these holidays, just the values, function F4, close bracket, enter. I can copy this as well and enter. Okay, so I personally prefer to use Workday International because it gives me more flexibility to input my weekend type. So let's try other examples. It says here, determine the expected end date if the projects were completed in 93 working days. Okay, so the project is supposed to be completed in 93 working days. You have to use this as the only off day. When are you supposed to complete? You have Sunday and Monday as the only off day. When are you supposed to complete? And you have Monday and Wednesday as the only off day. When are you supposed to complete? Okay, so let's do this together. So equal to Workday International. Okay, so this is our start date. Number of days. The number of days is going to be 93 as specified. And then currently we have only Tuesdays off. So I'm going to scroll down to Tuesdays, tab to select this, and enter. And we have this. Okay. Now, the next one says Sunday and Monday is our only off day. So Workday International. Okay. This is my start days, 93. And then I have Sunday and Monday as my off day. So tab to select and enter. And I have that. For the last one, it wants to know when the completion date will be 93 days after the start date if you have Monday and Wednesday as your off days. Great. So let's do this. Workday International, start dates 93, and then Wednesday and Monday. So we have Monday and Tuesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all these options. But then obviously from our list, we do not have Monday and Wednesday. So how do we go about this? So we can create an array to help Excel understand how our weekend structure is going to be. Now this array is going to be composed of zeros and ones. Zeros for the days that are working days, and then one for the days that are off days. So I'm going to bring double quotation. Now starting from Monday, if the day is an off day or a weekend, you represent it with a 1. If it's a weekday or a working day, you represent it with a 0. So let's start. Starting from Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like this. Now, this is the array that will help Excel understand your weekend or your week structure. Okay. Weekends are represented as 1s, and then weekdays are represented as 0s. Okay. It always starts on a Monday. Very important. Close brackets and enter. And that is going to give us 20th June 2014. So that's how we calculate working days in Excel. Okay. Now you have another project, project B. you have an expected start date and an expected end date. Now, if you have Tuesdays as your off day, how many days would have elapsed between these 2 days? How many days would have elapsed between these 2 days? Okay, so how do you calculate this? So now we're going to use a cousin of the Workday International called Net Workday International. So Net Workday International. Okay, we take the start dates, the end dates, our weekend structure, in this case it's Tuesdays only, and then enter. We have 161 days in between. Okay, same for Sunday and Monday. So Net Workday International. Okay, so start dates, end dates, weekend structure. So in this case, our weekend structure is going to be Sunday and Monday, to close brackets and enter. The last bit says calculate how many working days you have in between if Monday and Wednesdays are your off days. So like we did initially, we need to specify in this case as well our weekend structure. So start date, end date. Our weekend structure in this scenario is going to be in bracket starting from Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All days in zeros are weekdays or working days. All days in ones are weekends or off days. Close bracket and enter. 134 days. Okay, so this is how this works using the net working days international function to calculate the number of working days in between 2 days, taking consideration weekends. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at the last bits. So you have some HR data, you have data employed, and you want to calculate the years in service, months in service, and days in service. So days in service is pretty easy. So equal to today, based on what you've learned, today minus our date employed. Okay, and you can copy this down. Now you realize when you're seeing dates, you shouldn't panic because this is just a format. So Control Shift tilde will give you the date in service. Months in service is going to be a little tricky, but years in service is quite simple. So equal to year of today, okay, minus the year the person was employed. Copy down again, no panic. Control Shift tilde, and then you have the years in service. Okay, so what this means is basically you're going to multiply this by 12 to give an approximate number of months in service. But that's not even going to be a perfect, okay, months in service dependent on when the person was employed and when we are looking at the information in this current year. However, in Excel, there's a function that can do this for you pretty easy. Okay, it's called date def. So equal to date def. A lot of people call it dated if, but I feel it's date diff because it kind of talks about what the function does. Date diff, the date difference. So basically what date diff does is you provide two dates and then you can express the difference in either years, month, or days. Okay, so you start with the smaller date, in this case the date employed, and the current date is today. So this is your start date, this is your end date, and then I want to express this in years, so open brackets, Y for years, close bracket, enter. We have 29. Copy this down, Control D. Okay, let's try this for month. So equal to date def. Okay, so our start dates today, and then we have our end dates, and then we have month like this. Enter. I can copy this down, Control D. These are the number of months I have. Can do the same thing for days. So equal to date def. Okay, start date. Now end date. So I've been using today function throughout. I can also write the dates hard coded in the function. But in this case, I'm going to do double quotation, just like how my dates are expressed over here. So month, day, and then year 2022, like this. And then I want to express this in days, double quotation D, enter, and I can copy this down. It's very important that you bring the double quotation when you're writing the date, like this. Also, you can also use the date function, DATE, and then you specify the year, month, and day. Okay, so these are some very useful date functions in Excel you can use in your day-to-day activity at the workplace. I hope you learned something. Please don't forget to comment, to share, to like, and to subscribe. Thank you very much, and see you in a subsequent session.
If this video was helpful and you would like to receive more of these videos directly on your WhatsApp, you can send ad to this WhatsApp number. We'll add you to our broadcast list so you receive our videos directly. You can also visit our YouTube channel, Finance Skills Hub. All our old videos are here. Please subscribe for notification of new videos or connect with us on any of these social media handles. Thank you so much for watching.